Now, I mentioned a couple nights ago in the midst of a different conversation, we didn't have time to really expand on this. I mentioned about this video that has come out of an American photographer who apparently has been missing since 2012. James Wright Foley has been beheaded by people claiming to be associated with the ISIS guys over in Iraq.
Yep.
Now, the story here is from the Daily Mail, and I do have the video. We can play the audio track from it here. I refuse to watch the actual cutting off of the head. I remember watching a video where that happened to someone previously. I forget.
Nick Berg.
Nick Berg. That probably was who it was. Yeah, several years ago. And it was horrifying to watch that. And I don't want to watch this one because I'd seen that one. You know, you seen one.
I've seen more than one person on Facebook claim that it's fake.
That sounds like ridiculous conspiracy theory to me, but then again, I haven't watched it. So you're welcome to weigh in if you have. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Well, apparently it's real that they actually had this guy, James Wright Foley, and he's been missing since 2012. This was really him on that video. The mother and father of beheaded journalist James Wright Foley called on ISIS militants to spare the lives of other captured hostages as the authenticity of the barbaric video of his death was confirmed by the White House on Wednesday morning. White House National Security Council spokesbureaucrat Caitlin Hayden issued a statement to say the U.S. intelligence community has analyzed the recently released video showing U.S. citizens James Foley and Steven Sotloff. Quote, "We have reached the judgment that this video is authentic. We will continue to provide updates as they are available." Now, of course, just because the government says something is authentic doesn't mean it, in point of fact, is authentic. But, cutting somebody's head off on video isn't necessarily an easy thing to fake, I guess. But your thoughts are certainly welcome at 855-450-FREE. So they talk about, the politicians and their responses to this. And obviously, Barack Obama is probably not going to withdraw the troops from Iraq over this, which is likely going to end up killing yet another one of their captives. At the very end of the video, they show the second man that was named here in this story, not James Wright Foley. He was the one who was allegedly decapitated, but Steven Sotloff is the one who is allegedly still alive. And they threaten at the very end of the video to off him next, based on what or what not Obama does or doesn't do. So going on here to the story from the Daily Mail, it's emerged on Wednesday that several senior U.S. officials with direct knowledge of the situation says ISIS very recently threatened to kill Foley to avenge the crushing airstrikes over the past 2 weeks against militants advancing on Mount Sinjar, the Mosul Dam, and the Kurdish capital of Erbil. Disturbing footage of the execution appeared on Tuesday in a video titled "A Message to America," in which apparently coerced Foley, age 40, recites a pre-prepared script, presumably given to him by his captors, which he delivers unflinchingly to the camera.
So I wonder about this. Do they have them do things like this over and over the course of years? Because he's had him for a couple of years.
When you say do they have them do things like this, you mean read statements into the camera?
Do the sick, twisted, militant religious fanatics have their captives, i.e., in this case, the reporter, read ridiculous diatribes into cameras on a regular basis? Because I don't know how I would react if I was being knelt down in front of a camera for the first time 2 years after I had been in captivity. Presumably, like, this is pretty important, right? Like, kneeling down, why am I kneeling? Don't we behead people that are kneeling?
I'm pretty sure he knew what was coming. I think that seemed clear, at least to me. And
I'm not going to take a beheading.
Okay, well, if you're not going to take it, Mark, we're going to kill your family.
Which family you're referring to?
Your wife and son.
Where are they?
They're in New Hampshire. We know where they are. And if you don't do what we say and say what we tell you to say, we're going to torture them and kill them.
Ridiculous.
Now, would that change how you feel about it?
I suppose that it might, like at that point, if I'm choosing between taking a bullet in the back, which is likely, and a chopping off my head, that I may very well make that decision. Like they're two poor choices. Like what I was deciding between is whether or not I'd take the beheading versus a bullet in the back, and I'd rather take the bullet in the back. But he may decide to do the math in his head and say, yeah, these people might have some sleeper agents somewhere in the United States that might be able to, do something to my family before they could get the police involved or whatever. So it's probably worth just getting my head cut off, since either way I'm dying tomorrow.
There you go. So I'm going to give you the audio track, and we can share more from the Daily Mail piece about this video. Mark, you're claiming some people are saying it is faked, but let me at least give you the audio up through.
But the White House says it's authentic.
That's correct. They do say that. Your thoughts are welcome at 855-450 free. Again, this is called A Message to America. It's actually, I'm starting the video 2 minutes into it. The beginning portion of the video is a clip of Barack Obama talking about the airstrikes that he had ordered on various different targets, allegedly ISIS or ISIL targets in Iraq. So after the Barack Obama statement, they show a clip of what it appears to be some sort of a missile striking a group of their friends, presumably. And then they begin the video, which has a man standing in a balaclava and all black next to the American photographer James Wright Foley, freelance photojournalist, who is kneeling in all orange.
I call on my friends, family, and loved ones to rise up against my real killers, the U.S. government. For what will happen to me is only a result of their complacency and criminality. My message to my beloved parents: save me some dignity and don't accept any meager compensation for my death from the same people who effectively hit the last nail in my coffin with their recent aerial campaign in Iraq. I call on my brother John, who is a member of the U.S. Air Force. Think about what you are doing. Think about the lives you destroy, including those of your own family. I call on you, John. Think about who made the decision to bomb Iraq recently and kill those people, whoever they may have been. Think, John, who did they really kill? And did they think about me, you, our family when they made that decision? I died that day, John. When your colleagues dropped that bomb on those people, they signed my death certificate. I wish I had more time. I wish I could have the hope of freedom and seeing my family once again. But that ship has sailed. I guess all in all, I wish I was an American.
This is James Wright Foley, an American citizen of your country. As a government, you have been at the forefront of the aggression towards the Islamic State. You have plotted against us and gone far out of your way to find reasons to interfere in our affairs. Today, your military air force is attacking us daily in Iraq. Your strikes have caused casualties amongst Muslims. You are no longer fighting an insurgency. We are an...
We'll come back. There's just a little bit more. And then what is alleged to be a beheading. Like I said, I haven't watched it yet. If you have and you want to comment, you're welcome to share. 855-450 free. You don't have to call. You don't have to only call if you've seen this. Certainly you can call about anything you want. Your perspective certainly welcome here. The toll-free number is 855-450 free. So how do you stop these beheadings? How do you stop killings like this? We'll come back. So, Lauren, you're kind of coming into the middle of this. You actually are a little bit late tonight because you went to visit Rich Paul.
I did want to say something about the Bitcoin thing, though.
Sure.
I was just thinking about this on the way up here because I'll tell you what, I've got a 2-hour drive to come up here. So, actually, it's an hour and a half. I'm just
3
like to
hours, though,
exaggerate.
both ways.
Yeah, right. But it's worth it because I get to see all my friends. But the thing is that while I was driving up here, I was, reflecting on the era that we are living in, and I just, I think it's amazing that the internet hasn't really even existed that long, and we already have a currency based on it. And I think what is so cool is the fact that someday, when we're old, we're going to be able to look at our kids who are using Bitcoin and be like, I remember the day when Bitcoin was created. And that Satoshi guy, he's very cool.
Or remember the day when people actually had a whole Bitcoin, right? Because I mean, what?
Oh my goodness!
At some point, some people are saying Bitcoins will be worth $100,000. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
They certainly could.
Anyway, well, let's get back into your calls and thoughts.
We've Gavin Andreessen, the head developer of Bitcoin, actually recently credited Free Talk Live as one of the sort of sparks that set this, they called it a crazy open source project, into the currency of the internet.
It was a really big compliment. You read it for me off the air a couple days ago or yesterday or something like that. And
yes.
I mean, to come from the second most well-known developer of Bitcoin right after Satoshi Nakamoto, I think Gavin's been on board for quite a long time. As I understand it. Big deal. Anyway, let's go back to the story here about the video. We've got Luke on the line. He is in Milwaukee via Skype. Luke, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, everyone. How's it going?
Hey, what's on your mind tonight, Luke?
I'll just dive right into it. I watched the video. I heard you just say this is probably going to be horrifying. It's really not.
Really?
It's laughable at best.
Laughable?
Let me expound on that. I know it's pretty big.
We'd appreciate it if you did.
Not that I have any kind of fascination with this stuff, but as a kid, I watched several of them in the past because I was still stuck in the belief that, these people are barbarians and, they're destroying the world and Muslim caliphate and all that stuff. But anyways, so I watched a lot of the old ones, and those were absolutely gruesome and disgusting and had to be shut off halfway through. This one, the big thing that strikes me right off the bat is the production value. I mean, we're being told that these guys are barbarians hopping from caves to caves, and this is, I mean, it looks like it's like a full HD video. I saw a comment by an individual on Facebook.
Well, hold on. Before you go on with, the remainder of your points here. Okay, so they're saying they're hopping from cave to cave. Well, whoever they are may not know what they're talking about or are trying to paint these people as inept. I mean, it's not uncommon for someone to have a cell phone with an HD video camera chip in it.
Right, but another thing is I saw, and I mean, you kind of take this with a grain of salt, but I saw a comment on Facebook by an individual who said that they were an audio technician and they pulled the audio off the file or whatever and said that this is studio quality audio on the video. But back to the actual details of it.
It did sound like there was some wind in the background when I was listening to the sort of, not the narrator, but the guy that was speaking English that wasn't the reporter.
Right.
The man
one
with
of
the
the
knife.
one of the big striking things to me is the knife he's holding has no serrations on it. Now, Mark might be able to talk about this in more depth than I can because I've never chopped the head off of anything. But I know Mark raises pigs and slaughters them.
I haven't done it yet.
You haven't done the slaughtering part, you mean?
I've slit the throat of a chicken, but you use a scalpel kind of knife to do that.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and admit I'm guilty.
Pig slaughtering?
No. I hunt birds with my dad, so
you currently hunt birds?
I do.
And you chop their heads off?
Sometimes when they're not dead, we have to
wring their necks,
so that they're fully dead because we don't want them to suffer.
Luke?
So I just find it difficult to believe that he made it through a human spine with a knife that's not serrated. I mean, unless it's one of the sharpest knives on the planet or something like that.
It looked like a handheld knife.
Yeah, it's just like a little. It's like a little straight blade.
Do they cut away? I'm sorry to interrupt, but okay.
It goes like.
I want to give our listeners a real quick description of what this video is. So there's the guy, the American reporter who's been missing for 2 years. He's on his knees in all orange. There's a man in black with some sort of a mask on, holding a knife. And during the statement that the man in orange makes, and during the statement that the man in black makes, the camera just stays on them. It doesn't cut away. You're saying they cut away to what? A close-up? What do you see? What do you actually see happen?
Okay, so he grabs his head and he starts sawing like at his neck, but there's no blood. Like there's no blood at all. And because you have like a solid second or two of him actually allegedly making slices at his neck, and then it shifts away right away to a still frame of his, allegedly his body with his head on
So
top of
just
it.
to be clear, in the version of this video you've seen,
I saw the video,
okay.
the video that was supposedly released by
You're
IS.
saying the head does not actually come off of the person's body in the video footage. You
It
only
does
see
not.
sawing.
It does not.
You only see sawing and the aftermath.
Yes.
Still
correct.
sounds well, Luke. Thanks for clarifying that for us, man. I do appreciate the call. I'm glad I don't know if I'm saying I ever really want to say I'm glad someone watched it, but thanks for the call. I appreciate the info. There's more coming up here on Free Talk Live. You can share your thoughts. We're going to play the remainder of it here for you to hear the audio track of this alleged decapitation video. And I want to thank Luke for calling in to explain what actually happened in the video. And when he explained it, I was surprised to hear that there was a cutaway and that they don't actually show the decapitation. Having seen the Nick Berg video from years ago, which I found absolutely disgusting, where they actually do show the act of the removal of the person's head, that it doesn't happen in this video, as Luke pointed out. And I will link over to this. I haven't yet done it, but on our Facebook, Google+, and Twitter, I will put the link up to the video so you can take a closer look if you feel so inspired. Story from the Daily Mail describes the scene that you see in this video, which I will be posting to our Facebook and such here shortly. Wearing an orange jumpsuit with his head shaven, the man in alleged captivity is James Wright Foley, a photographer, independent photojournalist. He's dressed in all orange, and his voice is strong, but he often pauses to take deep breaths and appears to struggle at times to swallow as he battles against fear.
Is that so? I thought that the man's delivery was quite good for somebody who is going to be beheaded in a minute.
Yeah.
The executioner, who speaks directly into the camera in what appears to be a British accent, then blames President Barack Obama for Foley's death before he brutally beheads.
Foley blamed him too.
Well, Foley was obviously reading a script.
Clearly.
Written by the people who were allegedly filming the video. Before he brutally beheads the brave reporter in front of the camera. But that's not what happens, at the very least, in this live leak version. And when video like this hits the internet, it, in a lot of cases, gets censored on various different sites. But Live Leak historically has been the site to go to see the real McCoy. So I presume this is the actual full-on video, and that there's not another one out there that does show the decapitation, because this doesn't.
Okay, here's my take on this. I'm going to be honest. As coming from somebody that has already done videos on the fact that I don't like conspiracy theories. I think they distract from the movement. Mm-hmm. I am going to go out on a limb here and say, if this is the real version, and based on the fact that it's on Live Link, I think it is. I don't think it's real. I watched it. First of all, my first clue is that these people have never spared us any detail before. They want it to be as gruesome as possible to get their message across. And if if they want it to be gruesome, they're not going to cut things out. Second of all,
that's the biggest red flag to me, is that it wasn't the complete decapitation. And there was no reason to not put that out there, like you're saying here, Lauren. If they want to scare people and terrify people, that's one way to do it, is to put that out there.
Also, it does seem unrealistic that they would saw his head like that with such a small blade. As a knife owner and a knife enthusiast, it does not seem realistic. It would be very difficult to do that.
Well, you're a knife owner and a knife enthusiast, but have you ever decapitated an animal?
No.
So in that case, I don't know. It'd be interesting to hear from somebody who was a hunter, a regular kind of animal cutter with knives.
Well, I mean, we hunted, but not with animals that have nearly that thick of
So it's
Next.
possible, in my opinion, it's possible that this knife was what they attempted to begin cutting his head off with. I have my doubts that they got his head off very easily with what appeared to be something like a 5-inch blade.
Yeah, maybe 6 maximum. Yes, not very
max.
large.
I mean, this doesn't even look like a K-bar. I mean, it's not even that big, and you would think that if you wanted to take somebody's head off, that you would use an axe or a like a executioner's sword or something like that. You'd want to be able to get some speed and some momentum to do such a thing. This guy, and to
if
me,
I recall the Nick Berg video, there was a knife involved in that, but it was a larger knife involved in that.
did they hack at it?
I don't recall.
Okay.
I just remember it being horrifying.
I'm not saying you couldn't take a head off with a knife. I'm just saying that, we saw the very beginning of it if we saw anything, and then we saw what could have very well been in this, in this day of special effects, could very well have been a faked body. I felt
Could have
like
been.
most of the power of this video was taken out of it. I was really impressed with the things that Foley read. I'm like, wow, this man is brave going to his death like this. And then at the end, I'm like, I don't know what I'm seeing here. I can't tell what's going on. There was no blood, but he wasn't sawing for very long either.
Right, before they cut the camera on the sawing scene. So
Maybe a second of like 2 or 3 saws across his throat, like a second of video, cut, no blood.
and then cut to the scene of the body.
Cut to the scene of a body that's very gruesome looking. Could be his head.
Let me give you the statement from the man with the knife here. This is the second portion of the video. We started playing it earlier in the hour. Didn't get a chance to get all the way through it, so here it is.
Think, John. Who did they really kill?
This is the journalist at the very end of what
And
he
did
had
they
to
think
say.
about me, you, our family when they made that decision?
He's talking to his brother, who's in the military.
I died that day, John. When your colleagues dropped that bomb on those people, they signed my death certificate. I wish I had more time. I wish I could have the hope of freedom and seeing my family once again. But that ship has sailed. I guess all in all, I wish I wasn't American.
This is James Wright Foley, an American citizen of your country. As a government, you have been at the forefront of the aggression towards the Islamic State. You have plotted against us and gone far out of your way to find reasons to interfere in our affairs. Today, your military air force is attacking us daily in Iraq. Your strikes have caused casualties amongst Muslims. You are no longer fighting an insurgency. We are an Islamic army and a state that has been accepted by a large number of Muslims worldwide. So effectively, any aggression towards the Islamic State is an aggression towards Muslims from all walks of life who have accepted the Islamic Caliphate as their leadership. So any attempt by you, Obama, to deny the Muslims their rights of living in safety under the Islamic Caliphate will result in the bloodshed of your people.
That's where the beheading allegedly begins. Again, the video ends with a shot of the body, what is alleged to be the body, and then another man in orange being held captive. This is another alleged journalist that they supposedly have in captivity, and he's supposed to be next on the chopping block if Obama doesn't do what they want, which is to leave them alone and stop the bombing campaign. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. What do you think should be done about this? 855-450-3733. Free Talk Live. Kind of a conspiracy theory night here on Free Talk Live. Is this beheading video for real? And if it is real, why cut out the actual process of the beheading? Some argue on, let's see, this is BuzzFeed? No, not BuzzFeed. The site is, I don't know where it was. But anyway, some were arguing on Reddit. That's where it was. That essentially that this was real, but that ISIS doesn't want to focus on the violence. They want to focus on the message. That doesn't make any sense, though. Why fake a beheading video if you don't want to focus on violence?
Right. Well, just release a video of the reporter. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, have him read your thing and then go back to his little room that you're keeping him in or whatever.
All right, so I am posting the link up to this alleged beheading video, and so you're welcome to take a closer look at it if that's something that you would like to do. Our toll-free number here tonight is 855-450-FREE. We'll give you what the Pentagon is saying about ISIS. They claim it's a threat beyond anything they've ever seen. So we'll get into that as well. The toll-free number brought to you by ProXPN is 855-450-FREE. We had played the video earlier, the audio track, which basically is this guy in orange, the alleged American Foley, who is James Wright Foley, who is in captivity or has been in captivity since 2012. He's now allegedly dead, and he reads a statement about how essentially Barack Obama is the one responsible for putting him to death by engaging in a bombing campaign against people in Iraq. The suggestion in the video later is that if the bombing campaign continues, that they have another journalist that they will be putting to death. So perhaps maybe the next video they will have listened to the critiques and will put the full video in. But Lauren, you seem pretty sure that this is some sort of a fake.
Yeah, I think it's BS. I think that they covered his head in fake blood. That's a fake body, and they've got his head sticking up. They've got him buried in the sand. And
you think that's his real head?
Yeah, I think they
at the end.
Yeah.
Is he knocked out? Is he dead?
But I don't think that body's real. I mean, it wouldn't be that hard to make a fake body, put his head through the body, cover it in a little bit of blood, and have the rest of his body buried under the sand. I mean, this is a simple magician's trick.
That's
the
only thing they could do,
They
right?
saw people in half all the time on stage. I'm telling you, this is fake.
Well, I don't know. I'm not going to claim I don't know anything, but I'm going to say that that's really his head. Now,
Yes.
I'm not going to claim that it is attached to his body or not attached to his body, but you can't make a wax model that looks like somebody's head. You just can't get that close.
Nope.
So I would say that that's his head. But the man read voluntarily a relatively
You don't know
long.
if it was voluntary. He was captured.
He read it.
He read
under
the statement.
duress.
Correct.
And he could very well pose for a picture. It was just a photo of his decapitation. And like, hey, you can go back to your room after we're done here. Nick.
There was also very little blood on the neck too. Normally, if you had decapitated a head, there would be a pool of blood under the body. Just spilling everywhere. I mean, the neck has tons of veins in it.
The main artery, the cardioid artery, I think.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, but I wasn't quite positive what it was called.
Let's go to Kurt. He's listening in Durham, North Carolina to Talk Radio 850. Hey, Kurt, you're on the air.
Hey, I looked at that video yesterday, and it's an unfortunate situation. I mean, I really feel for the families of both the reporters. However, the thing that really hit me was, of course, the last scene where the body was laying down and the head was laying on his back almost appeared to be photoshopped. The other thing that gets me is the relative calm of Mr. Foley reciting this dogma that was given to him. If you or I were in a position that were to be beheaded, I'm sure that we would not be so calm. And that is something that really hit me right off the bat. And the other thing is the small implement of the beheader being maybe an 8-inch blade, however sharpened it was. And the thing is you look at the body laying on the ground, there would be blood at least halfway off that back.
Yes. See, I'm with you. Yeah, that's a main artery.
So what is
Yeah.
So the idea that this was fake seems plausible at this point.
I think likely is it.
What's the real story then? I mean, now we're talking about total speculation.
I think the real story is obviously they want ransom, whatever. Of course, they haven't heard anything back from Mr. Foley, nor I can't remember the other fellow's name. I really do feel that it's a prop.
Who faked it, to your mind?
I think ISIS faked it in the sense that they have basically are trying to, over international media to project this abomination of selective beheadings and whatnot that basically retorts back to their semblance of disorder and wanton destruction within Syria.
But why fake it? Why? I mean, if it's really ISIS, because the more plausible they're faking it story to me would be that, as Lauren was suggesting, it's the U.S. government who's doing it to propagandize people against ISIS.
No, but I mean, okay, do you remember the one, not Daniel Pearl, but the other fellow?
Nick Berg?
I can't remember his name. Yeah.
Nick Berg.
Now, that was an actual beheading.
Oh, yes, it was.
And they saw through that guy's neck. And there's no way that this, in my opinion, now he was definitely beheaded.
Yeah, they did it on camera with no regard.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't blank out or anything. I mean, they're not afraid to scare us, and if that's the point, which obviously that's the point, is to scare us.
Why would it be? If this was
I don't
ISIS,
think there's a there. And let's point out that they've had this guy for 2 years. You get to know people. And I just wonder whether they say, look, the live hostage is more valuable than the dead hostage. But
everybody thinks he's dead now.
Well,
so more valuable?
A couple more weeks.
Well, what are you going to gain by killing someone like Mr. Foley or the other?
One less mouth to feed in the jail.
No, I mean these folks are being basically they've got millions of dollars that are coming to them. Basically, it's terrorism.
Well,
and I think it's fake terrorism.
If it's fake, then they're not the monsters that the U.S. government would like us to believe they are.
No, they are monsters. No, they are monsters because what they've done in Syria is definitely on a Holocaust.
Who are the worst monsters? Them or the U.S. government?
Okay, you know what? I'm not even sure that the things.
I mean, the United States. You got to realize the amount of time that we have spent in the Middle East. I mean, it's gone back. I'm going to tell you exactly what happened after World War I. All these areas were part of the Ottoman Empire.
That's right.
And then you had the Pinchon-Sykes Agreement that basically drew these incredible lines that defined the nomadic tribes. And that's what you've got today. And that's what we're dealing with. And it's tribal. And if you ever read the book called Lawrence in Arabia, you'll understand what it is. Now, there was a very small faction, which you could consider today as being Al-Qaeda, that basically was very small at that point. However, the majority of them wanted peace. They wanted assimilation to become somewhat of a nation. And between dealing after World War I with the French and English, things ended up being what they are today. And then you had the Americans coming into Iran, which is basically singled off. I mean, everything we've ever done. I mean, you look at Yugoslavia with Tito. Once Tito died, you had the Serbian Croatian issue. And, I mean, and then the same thing with
it seems to me, Kurt, that the U.S. government has way more blood on their hands than does these folks in ISIS.
I don't think that makes them good people.
Thanks for the call tonight. I appreciate hearing from you. No, I don't think it makes either side good. Thanks, Kurt. Appreciate hearing from you. More on the way. It's Free Talk Live. We were reviewing the video of the alleged beheading of American photojournalist, independent photojournalist James Wright Foley. There's a video what appears to have him sitting, or kneeling rather, on the ground out in some sort of a desert area with a man dressed in all black standing next to him carrying a knife. After giving a pre-written speech, Foley then the man in black gives some sort of a statement and proceeds to begin cutting at Foley's neck. The video then cuts away after about a second of sawing, or what appears to be sawing, at his neck, and then shows a still frame, a pan still frame, of the alleged body with James Foley's head, or what appears to be his head, sitting atop the back. So some are saying this looks fake, and I think the best claim, the best question, big question mark about this video is that they don't show it. And there have been videos in the past where they have shown someone being decapitated, and they're absolutely horrifying. That's why I was afraid to watch this video. I started the show tonight having not watched it, and then one of our callers, Luke, called in to describe what he saw happen in the video. He said it cuts away, And so we all watched it. At first, none of us wanted to watch it tonight.
Right.
And then we all sat and watched it. And of course, I was dreading it. I'm like, oh, God, what are we going to watch here? Because I was thinking maybe the guy who had called in had seen an edited version or something like that. But no, apparently the original version that was released, it's got this cutaway. And then, Lauren, you were talking about how you thought maybe there would be more blood. Another one of our callers said that he would have expected, given the arteries going through the neck, that there would be a lot more blood splashed on his,
There's a
his
lot
clothing.
of red flags.
And apparently it doesn't have that in the very ending frame of the film. So, but that just raises more questions, right? Like, because as soon as as soon as you get into conspiracy land, then all of a sudden different.
And I promised myself I wasn't going to get in. And the thing is that, guys, you got to remember, even if this video is fake, it's not something that we need to make a humongous focus on. We need to recognize that it is fake. Spread the word that it is fake, but this shouldn't be a reason to get rid of the government. The reason to get rid of the government, even if it was put out by the government, the reason to get rid of the government has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that we shouldn't be ruled at all. And that's the thing, is that's why I don't like conspiracy theory.
But wait a minute, Lauren, don't we need the government to protect us from ISIS? I mean, these guys allegedly want to kill Americans. They've got another photojournalist, if you believe the video, that they're about ready to execute. I mean, you could be next.
That's the thing, is that according to the U.S. government, everybody wants to kill us,
Mm-hmm.
And they're just our safety, our protectors, and just come into our arms and we'll save you. And that's the thing, is that it's like a chick crawling into a lion's mouth to try and get warmth. I would rather freeze to death. I don't know
welcome
where
to New Hampshire.
you guys stand.
I don't know. Even if this video to me is suspect, I don't know why. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not going to make a claim whether I believe it's real or not. I don't know. It's got some big questions.
But I don't know who. If it's not real, I don't know who did it or why they did it.
Right.
I'm just like, well, that's not convincing at all.
The thing is that I talk about conspiracy theories as a magic trick. So it's like sleight of hand. We distract people with this obviously raw, like fake video, or fake facts about 9/11 or anything else you can come up with conspiracy related, and people are so hyper focused on this one thing that they can't prove, that the public A starts to think we're crazy, and B, we forget about what it is before all of this. Even if this weren't happening, if the government weren't involved in all of these horrible incidents where Americans died or other people died, it doesn't matter whether they're Americans or not. People are dying from the U.S. government, and we forget the fact that we should be free in the first place because of the fact that
wait a minute. What
nature.
How would you forget that exactly? I mean, I haven't forgotten that.
I think people forget that when they get involved in conspiracy. I think
in conspiracy
right,
theory.
Because the conspiracy becomes the reason.
Because you were saying we, and I'm like, wait a minute. Who?
Oh, no.
You mean
those? I'm
conspiracy
sorry,
people?
I used we too loosely. I meant people who are involved in too deeply involved in conspiracies often make the conspiracy the reason why we should be free. Like, look at this horrible thing that they did that I can't really truly prove. But I mean, I've got good evidence, and that's all well and good. But that's not the reason that you should be free, is because we need to be free from that. We need to be free because we have a right as human beings to not be treated as animals.
Right. What you're saying is that the government, if the government is bad and would make a video like this, and a bad, if it was fake and the government made it, it is a very bad action. Then people would wouldn't necessarily say, well, just because that government's bad, then all people who wish to rule over others in a monopolistic fashion like the state does, then they're all bad. It's just saying, oh, well, this one's bad, so we just need another better one.
Yeah, we see that a
It's
lot.
even more than that. I mean, people just hyper focus on these little tiny activities.
Well,
And
right,
I
and-
mean, they don't seem tiny at the time, but I mean, even 9/11, we don't really talk about it that much anymore.
Thank goodness. I'm so sick of that discussion. People
Yeah.
have been calling for years about that here on Free Talk Live. And,
Yeah.
you know, maybe you're right here as well, Lauren. Maybe we're getting too distracted by the
We are.
details in this video as well. I mean, arguing or discussing, I don't feel like there's an argument here, but more of a discussion about, you know, is this real? What would it really look like if it were real? You know, obviously we don't have much personal experience on watching people being decapitated, but I did see the Nick Berg video, and I remember it being much more disturbing and complete in comparison to this. But it is still interesting to think about this, like, you know, because where does it go? Or why create this fake video? What's going on with this guy? If it's fake, is James Wright Foley still alive? Is he sitting, you know, in a cage somewhere?
Yeah.
Is he, you know, getting is his family being taken care of? Or
I hope
something
he's
like this?
okay. I
It
really
just-
do.
It just doesn't make any sense to me. Why fake this video? I guess the best argument is that the government wants people to believe these ISIS guys are a real threat.
It's Obama pushing his agenda because he just announced that we're going to stay at war. And he's got people are really upset
But
because
why
they
fake
know
it?
that he broke his promise.
But why fake it? Why, if you've got this
Because
guy
Obama
and you've had him
broke
for
his
2
promise.
years, but why fake the video? If you're going to have a video of this guy looking decapitated, why fake it?
Because Obama is a freaking coward. That's why.
I don't think
Because,
Obama ordered
you know,
this video to be made. I mean, that just doesn't make sense. That, you know, even if it was a conspiracy theory,
whatever. The people in charge are cowards. Whatever.
There was the U.S. government holding this Nick Foley guy for 2 years.
it's James Foley.
James Foley. I'm sorry, James Foley. Were they holding him for 2 years? I mean, that's crazy talk. I mean, I can hardly
Right,
believe
as
that
soon as
either.
you-
I don't know.
That's the problem with this theory that this isn't a real video. As soon as you go into the theory that it's not real, you go off into crazy land where nothing makes much sense
That's
anymore.
why we can talk about it in our circle. We can talk about it in our libertarian circle. But I don't think that this is something we want to talk to outsiders about. This is just, these are the things.
We're on the radio right now, so I mean, there's all kinds of people listening. To
I mean,
this,
but it's
this radio
mostly
show.
it's mostly libertarians.
I wouldn't go that
No,
far.
not at all. We're
No?
on, you know, we're on over 160 radio stations coast to coast. There are all kinds of people listening to this this radio show right now. And I'd love to get your thoughts at toll-free number 855-450-FREE.
But if they've watched the video, I'm sorry, go ahead. 855.
855-450-FREE.
Then if they've watched the video, they likely are as skeptical as we are.
All right,
I mean,
so
you have to be. It's so fake, and it's so poorly done.
all right, so
I just don't know. Just don't know.
Another question, though, is, you know, the larger question is, let's presume this is real, and even if this isn't real, there have been people who have been decapitated in the past. That much is
Yes.
true. So how do you stop that from happening? Of course, the best answer, in my opinion, is to, and the more freedom-oriented one, is to get the government out of the idea of protection services, get them out of the military, pull them back from around the world. And I'd like to see them shut down and then let people individually decide on your own how to protect yourself. If you want to hire somebody with a tank or some sort of mercenary squad to protect you if you feel like you need that level of protection, you should be free to do that. Just don't force me or anybody I care about to pay for it.
Yeah,
Free Talk Live. This is Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything you want, whether it's about the conspiracy theory of your choice or the beheading video, which is sort of what started us off into crazy land. Because once you stop believing that the beheading video that was released this week, allegedly by ISIS or ISIL, once you stop believing that it's real, then all of a sudden nothing makes sense.
You woke up
Anymore. I don't know if you've woken up, because I don't know if it's true that it's not real. I'm still not convinced that it is fake. It's just a possibility that it is fake. To me, Lauren, you seem pretty convinced about this.
The thing is that I'm not convinced it's real. That's just the thing. Is
I'm
that
not convinced either way.
it's proving a negative, you know.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.